Welcome back to First Year in Medical Device Sales. I am your host, Jacob McLaughlin, and I have a very, very special guest who has an amazing accent, but is somebody who joined us on New to Medical Device Sales when he had originally broke into medical device sales in South Africa. And I am so proud to be bringing Dolan Marshall back to the First Year In podcast to explain how he took a territory that literally had zero revenue to now he's a top performer in South Africa in medical device sales. And we are going to learn about his journey. We're going to learn about the difference in the healthcare systems, but also what he did to have success in his first year in medical device sales. So, Dolan, welcome to First Year in Medical Device Sales.
No, thanks for having me, Jacob. I really appreciate it.
Oh man, it is so good to see you again. We were just talking off air. It's truly been incredible to watch your journey on how you went from breaking in and where you were at literally just a year and a half ago, like we talked about just about a year ago. The conversation you and I had is so different to where you're at now, and it literally gives me so much energy. It gives me so much happiness to see how you've literally changed your life and absolutely crushed this career. So I'm so excited to have you on, and I know people are going to love it. So for the people who don't know, they can go back and watch how you broke into med device sales. If you just go to New to Medical Device Sales and search Dolan's name, that podcast will come up. But can you tell us just a little quick summary about who you are, where you're from, and then how long you've been in med device sales?
No, I'm Dolan Marshall. I'm currently working for a neurosurgical slash trauma based company in South Africa. So I currently look at all the accounts basically in the Gauteng area, which is basically a state in the US. So I have a state that I look after, all the territories that I manage here. And yes, I'm currently the full line sales rep for Gauteng. So my day to day would basically be covering cases. I mean, I'm in an industry where spinal and orthopedics, I mean, we basically in theater almost every single day.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the first year has been great. The first 3 months were definitely challenging. Those first 3 months, they say drinking water out of a fire hydrant. I think it's worse sometimes, especially in my position where you start with no surgeons, no accounts, nobody even knows you. I mean, so you're walking in to hospitals being like, hi, my name is Dolan. And then they're like, okay, but who are you? Where are you from? We don't know about you, which is very difficult. But I must be honest, it's given me, I'm very, very grateful for the learning curve. I'm confident now in such a way that I could walk into a hospital I've never been to. I can walk into a doctor's consultation room, introduce myself with confidence, and just take the conversation from being a complete stranger to now where I have accounts that me and the surgeons are very, very good friends. We
Yeah.
speak on a personal level. And I mean, it's ridiculous to know that some of these accounts I've only known for a year, and to see how the relationship with the surgeon and the accounts have progressed in just a year has honestly been amazing to me.
I love that, man. And that's so cool to just see, like you said, we always talk about the reason we make these podcasts and we want you to know is like I've had people reach out and they're like, Jacob, today's my first day in my device sales. And like the reason I'm making this is if you are a rep that's seasoned or you've been in for a year or two, you know exactly what Dolan's talking about is like that first 3 to 6 months. You're like, oh my gosh, like, will I ever learn this? Did I get in over my head? What am I doing? And I make these so you all can understand and feel that you're not alone. But when we were talking off air, I felt the exact same way for the first 3 to 6 months. It was like I was nervous every single time I walked into a hospital. And like we already had the business, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, I'll never forget my first month. I was sitting in the back of a surgery and one of the scrub techs is like, dude, you got to calm down. Your energy like right now is like off the chart of like nervousness. Like it's going to be fine. It's been cool to see my transition, but watch your transition in that aspect of like, hey, you always kept good contact with me, shooting me LinkedIn messages, letting me know the update. But it's been fun to watch where you've taken it. And can you kind of talk about really what that first 3 months was like for you? Because I know you said it was difficult, but can you kind of go into a little more detail of like, besides walking in, they're like, who are you? What made it so difficult, especially coming in as a full line rep with no business to start?
So what makes it very difficult, first of all, it's the overwhelming information that you have to learn, not just about the doctors. I mean, it's the products, it's the surgeries. So that's already a lot of information overload. I mean, I have a bit of a medical science background thanks to my degree and previous experience, but there's truly nothing that can prepare you for being a rep. I mean, I will be honest. I thought, when I was younger, I went into hospitals. I've spoken to surgeons, but it's just a different relationship we have. I mean, now you're in a position of being the product expert. So what made it very difficult was in the first few months they ask you questions and you don't actually know the answer. So you feel a bit stupid in a sense, and you have to tell the doctor, Doc, I have no idea. But I will find out. And those are things that make you nervous, feeling like you don't actually, you thought you knew the product, you thought you knew the surgery, you thought you knew how things work. And then all of a sudden you're in theater and something happens and you're like, okay, but I don't know what to do. That's very stressful. And yes, there is definitely managers and people you can call. But I mean, in that situation in theater, you feel so helpless. And besides theater now, I mean, going to consultation rooms, talking to the receptionist, trying to get an appointment with the doctor. The doctor knows you from nowhere. The receptionist knows you from nowhere. It's very, very difficult to convince them to get you to see the doctor, especially if you don't have a name in the industry, or like myself, I don't work with one of the massive companies in the world. So you don't have the name that backs you of the company, and you also don't have a name in the industry. And that was very difficult. But my advice would basically be I was relentless. I went to consultation room after consultation room after consultation room, saw the same people various times, and eventually got demonstrations with the surgeons, showing them our products, selling the products. And that's definitely one thing I would try to tell the people that are struggling right now is it gets better. I know everybody's told you this because they've told me the same thing. But honestly, I really feel like Jacob always says, it's to earn your stripes. So those first 3 months are really, really to earn your stripes. And if you continue doing what you're doing, continue being consistent and persistent, you'll see the accounts. I mean, I was telling Jacob earlier, my area, I mean, in terms of sales, has doubled or even tripled from when I started. I mean, it's ridiculous. And all that it is that I'm consistently putting in effort. It's not, I mean, there's days where obviously all of us have been through it. I mean, we are in sales at the end of the day where you have no sale, or the doctors that used to use you no longer use you. And that's also a tough blow, which you're going to experience. But I don't want any of you guys to let that put you down. I mean, it's just another bump in the road. And I mean, that's our jobs as medical device reps. We have to solve problems. We're literally put in theater to solve problems. I mean,
Yep.
we're the product expert. We have to solve problems with the products. We have to solve problems in theater. That's what we do.
Yes. Man, I love that you just said that. People, please go back and listen to that, what Dolan just said, because it is the absolute truth. Like if you're first starting out, I say this to people all the time. Really just think the first 6 to 12 months, you are just going to get punched in the face, and you should just smile about it. And it's going to be a learning curve, and not in a bad way. You're just going to, like Dolan said, like when I first went in, I said the first 6 months, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm a pretty confident person. But like you said, you go in, you don't know the surgery, you don't know the product. The worst thing you can ever do to a surgeon is lie and say, because that's a person on the table, right? And so if you don't know, you just say you don't know. And guess what? They might be upset with you, and that's okay. But guess what happens when you're good? You're going to know the question for the next time, right? It only takes once, and it's always about learning and how can you continue to progress. But the thing I want everyone to hear, what you said, was you just didn't give up. You kept showing up. It's the relentlessness. Like I say this to people all the time. People are like, oh, Jacob, work-life balance, work-life balance. And I'm like, yeah, what people don't understand, you can have work-life balance. But what they don't understand is stop talking about work-life balance in your first 6 to 12 months. That's like you joining the NBA and you shoot a basketball once a month and you're like, why am I not the best in the starter? You don't put in the work to be able to be the starter who doesn't have to, right? Like this is what I'll just sit here and tell you. If you can just erase work-life balance for 6 to 12 months out of your life, think about and I want you to talk about this, Dolan. Think about how different your life is now 1 year in. The business has tripled and you're doing it every single month. You're making more on the business. And all it is the compounding effect, the information you continue to learn, and you keep working on it every single day that you're there. And then think about how different your life is today than it was a year ago when you first started. And then think about how different your life is a year from now, right? Like this is what people are missing is they're like, Jacob, I need it now. And I'm like, I got you. I understand it. But like, even for example, everyone's listening to this podcast right now. Guys, this is almost 4 years of nonstop every week, a podcast. That's why you listen to it. When I first started it, I had 3 listeners. When I was 6 weeks in, 51 listeners. I took a screenshot and I'm like, holy crap, people are just loving this, right? Now we have thousands of weekly listeners to help you all because I live it every single day with you. But it's just the consistency. Same thing with where I was at Medtronic. Took a lowest performing territory to top 10 in the first fiscal year that I was there. Why? Because I did something every single day. And not once did I ever say, what's my work-life balance today? It was, I'm going to go put in the work and crush it. And so it's no different than here with Innovis. I was in the exact same spot Dolan had. $0 in revenue. Here we are. Good luck, right? Here's your quota. Here's who you need to talk to. Go get it, right? We've been able to do that. We've been able to have a lot of success. I'm very thankful to say. But why? Doing something every single day that you're here. And again, now I'm in a different spot to where, guess what? And Dolan, I want you to speak on this real quick, is sometimes you don't have to work a 14-hour day. Because guess what? You now know, Dolan, that there's ups and downs. There's waves. There's the flow. Some weeks you're going to work 70 to 80 hours. Guess what? There's also going to be weeks you might work 35, 40. So you're going to take it when you can because now you've put in the work and now you have established business. So I want you to speak a little bit on that.
Yeah, so I always tell everybody, and I've spoken to other reps, and I can definitely see it. Being a medical device rep is literally a snowball effect in terms of your business. So in the beginning, it is very slow. And I want you guys that are listening to know it's going to be slow. You guys that get a territory that already has doctors, be grateful for that. I mean, some people are starting from zero, and those relationships that you have, nurture them, try to grow upon them. Because once you have relationships with these doctors, I mean, word of mouth is the best form of marketing that there is. I mean, I can go see 100 surgeons every single day, just sell myself. But if another surgeon or one of their colleagues tells them, hey, have you seen this guy from this company? That sells you a lot faster. And I must be honest, that has literally helped with my success, doctors starting to know my name. But that came from going to those consultation rooms every single day. I mean, I was visiting between 4 to 5 hospitals every single day, going to between 15 to 30 consultation rooms, introducing myself, telling them about our company, asking for a demonstration. And in South Africa, it's very difficult because there are also larger companies here that have established relationships with doctors that have been using them for 10 years. And I have to come in here and say, hi, I know he's been using XYZ company now for 10 years, but I'd like to see the doctor. Maybe we have something that he would like. And it's very difficult to convert those relationships that they've had with guys from larger companies. And even, I mean, some of them are on personal level with those reps. But I don't want you guys to be negative about these things. Rather take that as a lesson and learn. The thing is, you need to understand your product and your company. That's what you're selling at the end of the day. So if you can, I mean, yes, there is larger companies, but there's smaller companies like the one I work for that do things a lot better than the larger companies. And that's what you need to sell. And you also need to be consistent because, I mean, when Jacob and I spoke last year, the ebook that he was selling for his, breaking into medical devices, I literally couldn't afford it because of the exchange rate between South Africa and the US dollar. And now where my life is right now, I'm engaged. I'm planning a wedding next year. I'm moving into my own place. I've got a new car. It's so ridiculous how my life has changed. I mean, I was sitting with my fiance the other day telling her, like, I can't believe that just a year ago, all of these goals felt so far away. But because of every single go out, I go see these surgeons, I go cover cases, I build relationships. It has literally snowballed into where I am right now. And I cannot believe how in 1 year my life has changed from not being able to afford a $30 ebook to now planning a wedding, having a new car, and just moving into my own place. It's ridiculous.
Come on, man. Can you just, one more time, can you tell people how old you are?
I'm currently 22. I'm turning 23 in March.
Come on, man. Like, if that doesn't get you excited, like, guys, this is why I do everything that I do, because Dolan couldn't afford that. And we had that conversation. I just sent it to him. I sent him a couple other things so he could have it, because you can see why I saw that in him. He's a guy who just doesn't quit. And like, this is what literally gets me so pumped, is because of the work he's done. He's changed his entire life, and it was all him. It's all him putting in the time and the effort. And what I want you to hear from that, it is hard. It is hard, but everything on the other side of hard is great. Right. And if you just accept that, to put in the hard work and do it and just live it, your life will be so amazing. Look at like what Dolan just said. He was where he was a year ago, 365 days ago, is so different than where he's at now, because he just didn't give up. He showed up. And guess what? Because we've all been there. There's days he had to call it early and just say, I don't even know, and question it, because you know what? You got to have some mental health days and you're like, I don't know if it's worth it. And then you feel bad. And I always tell our people, go feel bad for yourself for about 24 hours or the rest of the day. Go cry, feel however you want. And then tomorrow's a new day. Let's freaking go. It is just the thing is if you don't quit, you will win. And so I want you all to hear that. But like, first off, Dolan, just so proud of you, man. Like, I want to say that on here right now because like you've changed your life. You've done the work. And I just want everyone to hear that like one more time, how different your life is 1 year because of you, because you believed in yourself. And guess what? Just because someone else didn't see your value, someone else said things, you never let that put you down. Amazing. And one thing I want to put here for everybody to hear right now, this is what people don't understand. You get 15 surgeons, 15 accounts, you just changed your freaking life. Let's take it leave even smaller. You get 12 or 10 surgeons and 10 accounts, you just changed your freaking life. Let me say that one more time. 10 surgeons or accounts, you just changed your freaking life. Why am I saying that? That's not even one per month. If you can now make that a smaller goal and you're like, oh my God, I need to do all this stuff and I got to bring up this. No. Just focus on getting one person a month. You'll change your whole entire life. Because guess what? Then guess what you can do with those accounts? You can build the relationships like Dolan said. He's having relationship conversations with people that they know him personally, right? It's the same conversation I had. After about a year in, everybody I walked into, Jacob, how's your dog? Hey, Jacob, where'd you go this weekend? Like they asked about me and I always tried to turn it back on them. The thing I'm telling you, my friends, stop thinking so short term. Stop thinking that the world's drowning, that you're never going to make it. You guys don't need every single surgeon. Like this is my best tips to every sales rep, whether you're in med device sales or not. I even do this with my buddies who are personal trainers trying to grow their business, right? Like I've helped multiple people make it to their businesses and help them make it 6 figures by just this conversation. Stop trying to get everybody because not everyone's a great fit. You need,
No,
you can be the premium or whatever it is, and you just need 5, you just need 10, whatever it is, and that will change your life. So the reason I'm saying that to all the new reps, stop like the accounts you have, just go crush it with those guys. And then guess what? Watch what will happen inside there. Hey, you don't have anybody? Go get 1 or 2 or 3 and put all your time and effort into them instead of what every rep does is, oh, I got one. Now I got to go to the other one. Now I got to go to the other one. And now you give a horrible, crappy, bad service to all of them and nobody's going to refer you or do anything. But you go give someone white glove service for 1 or 2 people. Watch what happens in 6 months to your business and your life.
No, that's definitely true. I think even when I was starting, I also went through the learning curve of I need to get all the surgeons, I need to get XYZ doctor, I need 20 neurosurgeons, I need 10 orthopedic surgeons. And then eventually you're sitting in a place where, like you're saying, you're running around. And this was literally my first 3 months, to be very honest, so that everyone can hear it. I was trying to get every single surgeon I could, but not realizing, as you said, some surgeons are just not a fit for your company. They're not a fit for even you personally. I mean, some personalities don't mix. It's like oil and water, they don't mix. And eventually, when I started tailoring my approach to certain surgeons that I knew would want to use our accounts, that I would be able to assist, and that me and that surgeon fit very well together, my business started flourishing when I started focusing on specific surgeons. And now I'm looking at after about 9 surgeons, 9 to 11 surgeons, depending on different months. But just looking after those 9 or 11 surgeons has literally transformed my life. Just like you're saying, it's ridiculous. And in the beginning, I was looking to get 30 surgeons or 40 surgeons and realizing that was actually unrealistic. Because I mean, like you say, some weeks I'm in theater Mondays to Sundays. And that's also a part of the rep life I want to talk about, because everybody thinks we just go out, we have lunches with surgeons, we're living the life, we back at home, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, sitting and doing nothing. Most people don't see those early mornings and the late evenings. I mean, there's sometimes where I'm in theater until the next day, 12:30, and then I have to be at a case that same day at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I have like 5 hours of sleep. Everyone just really thinks it's this airy-fairy job where you're earning over 6 figures a year and you're doing absolutely nothing. There are weeks, definitely, like Jacob said earlier, where there are no surgeries, where your doctor's on leave, where you actually don't have anything. And in the beginning, you feel bad for doing nothing. But it's in those weeks where you need to rest and recoup, because the following week is one of those 100-hour weeks again where you're going to have to be in theater from 8 o'clock in the morning until midnight.
Yep.
So I want you guys to know that if you have rest days, take the rest days. I'm not saying in the first 3 months, like Jacob said, the first 3 to 6 months is not your time to rest. It's your time, like there is no work-life balance. You need to work so that in a year from now, you can have that work-life balance. I mean, my first 6 months, I was literally working every single day until late in the evenings trying to get surgeons. And now I'm at that point where there's some days where I'm home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but there's also some days where I'm there until midnight. But I take the early days.
Yep.
I rest on the early days because I know the next day a storm might be coming and I need to take on that storm head on.
Exactly, man. I love that point. And that is such a good point that I always tell people is number one is like, again, it's those ebbs and flows, it's the waves. And when you're in the first year, you don't understand that. I remember that took me about a year and a half to be like, well, it's summer. All the surgeons are gone. I don't have anything on. What the heck? But then I remember like, oh, also once it's December, I'm not going to sleep because everyone's trying to get their cash or they're trying to get their insurance deductible for us taken in. So I have surgeries. Like there was one day, again, just so you guys know, when I took over from Medtronic, like when I first started, I remember like there was 3 surgeries all week. Like it was the lowest performing. I'm like, what the heck? And like I'll never forget like when I was leaving on my last couple of months, like I had 11 surgeries on a day. And it was just like, okay, we've changed it, right? So there's going to be those times where you're crazy, you're on the phone, you're doing it, and you're working those long hours. But take those ebbs and flows that come with it. But like, I want you all to know, like, I just made a post a couple of weeks ago when I was in California driving. I had to go do a meeting. It's like, if you look, you'll see me on my computer inside my car doing emails, doing meetings. If you look at, we always make a joke, if you look at a rep's car, it should be like, if it's clean, they ain't doing something. Because like you should be running around. Literally, I was with my CEO and like he opened it and he's like a true sales manager. Because my thing is packed to the brim. I had all of our demo stuff. I had my like I traveled out there, so I had my clothes and stuff. But like I had all the models. I brought all the stuff just in case somebody was like, "Yes, we can do it." Right? I'm always prepping for that. So the reason I'm just saying that is again, it is putting in the time. It is putting in the work. But when you do that, I want you to think about okay, the first 3 to 6 to 12 months, let's crush it. But now if you're that rep, if your territory is underperforming, okay, probably not, right? This is the honest truth because you're probably just not doing enough. There's something you either need to go increase it. You need to get in more conversations, more dinners, like more lunches, like you need to do more meetings, more demos, all the stuff. But if you are at a performing time, I always tell our people, work smarter and harder, right? But then once you get to your point to where you're crushing it and you are like at a point, yes, you can keep going and keep going and keep going, but also, you need to have the times where you have some rest because otherwise you are going to burn out. And this is what I see people do. And they're like 2 years in, they're like, oh, I can't do it. Med device is off. And I'm like, well, yeah, because even on your days off, you don't let yourself have a day off. It's okay to put your phone away for like, again, depending on your division, but like, it's okay to be like, okay, I'm going to go chill for 3 hours and like, whatever. Like there's sometimes I used to like after like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock when I was at Medtronic because I didn't have most surgeries aren't going on. Guess what? That's when surgeons are going to text you and you're going to do it all the time. When I'm in the first year, yeah, I had my phone and I'm texting them all the time. Now I can be like, when I would go talk to them, I'll be like, hey, come on, you text me at 9 p.m. at night. Like I was already sleeping. I was already in bed. Like, and then I text them. I always do that just so you guys know a little tip. If someone ever texts you at like 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night, I'm a person who already wakes up at 5 a.m. anyway. So I would see it. And sometimes I would go, but like now, a lot of times these messages from our doctors, as we all know, sometimes can be very silly, or they just want to like talk to you or like have something, or it's like the somebody from like the office texting you. I just text them back at 5 in the morning just to show them like, hey, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to like chill for another hour or two. And then I'll worry about it in the morning because I'm off right now. And then like I would shoot it right when I wake up, like 5:30, and they would wake up to it 3 hours later and then they'd see it. And it would just be like, yes, I go to bed at a somewhat decent time and I'm way up. I've already done 3 hours of work by the time you're even showing up to work. So that just a little pro tip to anybody out there if you're ever looking for that. But that's such a great point, Dolan. I really love that. Now, one thing I did want to talk about, because I think this is going to be interesting, because as you know, we will have people from like South Africa. We have people we have over 30 countries that listen to us, and it's absolutely amazing. I absolutely love that. But the one thing I want to talk about is, can you kind of talk about the healthcare system in South Africa compared to like America, where we're just like a lot of it's ran by insurance. Like there's a reason like reps in America, and I did this with David, who's in the UK, which the UK is ran very differently than the US health system. So you can kind of shed some light on the South Africa system.
So the South African system is basically there's your private healthcare and your state healthcare or your public healthcare. How the public healthcare system works, it's basically the government has funds which then pays the various surgeons, the various device companies to do the specific procedures that have to be done. And then in South Africa, there are different preferred suppliers within the public sector. So these will be your larger companies that will be able to invest large amounts of money into the state to assist these people with their different surgeries and the different patient needs and the implants. So for a smaller company to get into the public healthcare system is very difficult. Due to this preferred supplier nature of how it works. And then we have the private sector, which is also based on medical aids, which are basically like your insurance companies or medical insurance companies overseas. And it's literally just based on the medical aid. So these people can go to the private hospitals, and how it works is that any company that is registered basically in South Africa that can work at these various hospitals is allowed to put implants in the specific patient, which then has to be approved by the medical aid. So the medical aids are basically what gives companies access to the different hospital groups and the different theaters and the different surgeons. So yeah, I would say that's basically the biggest divide. And then also another big thing is service. In the state, it's very, very underserved. There's a lot of, there's waiting lists of surgeries, and I mean basic surgeries, not even elective surgeries that are like waiting lists for like 11 years. Some people have to wait just to get their surgery, which is ridiculous because there's no funds. Because first of all, I'm not sure if you know about the dynamic of the government of Africa. It's very, very corrupt. So lots of the money is actually taken for personal use by lots of the people. So it actually leaves the hospitals and these state owned entities not having funds to do basic surgeries. I mean, there's some hospitals where there's no gloves for the surgeons to operate with in the state sector. And this makes life very difficult for the people that have to go to these hospitals. And it makes life difficult for the med device companies as well, because sometimes you have to, with the state companies, decrease your product so much that the companies end up making losses. It's very difficult actually in the healthcare system, in the government. But when you come more to the private side, that's where things are working. I mean, there's people that get surgeries every day. Things are flourishing. The hospitals are well maintained. They're well looked after. And that's why you'll see there is a very big difference between the different healthcare sectors in South Africa, between the public and the private healthcare sector.
Wow. And so am I right to say, so for example, if they want to go to the public, they don't have to pay. They can just kind of wait, get on a list and then go. But if it's a private sector, they're going to have to pay out of their own pocket and then get stuff done. Is that correct?
So yeah, in government, they can just go. They get like a card that allows them to go into these state-owned hospitals. Everything is covered by the state in terms of the procedures and everything. Some of the medications, the patients still have to pay out of their own pocket.
Okay.
Some of them are covered, but not all of them. Whereas in private, they have to pay like a fee every month to these medical aids. Even the medical aids don't cover everything. There are certain medical aids that do cover everything depending on the plan you're on. So some medical aids will then pay for the doctor's consultation fee, so they'll be 100% paid. So the patient doesn't have to worry about anything. They are paid in full, but then there's some medical aids or some levels of the medical aids where the patient still has to pay an add-on. So example, some surgeries, if a product was too expensive or if the doctor or the anesthetist or something happened that was above the limit, the patient would have to add on. So for example, if the limit's just a ballpark number of 50,000 Rand and the surgery and everything worked out to be about 70, the patient would then be responsible for the 20,000 outstanding. So actually in both sides, the patients actually end up paying for their own health. It's just in the private, it's not as aggressive paying as in the state, but it's also underserved in the state compared to in private.
Yeah, and that's really good to know. And the reason I say that because I want people to have a really good understanding because, like, for example, that's a big understanding that I have like with the NHS. And again, I'm no expert on the NHS, but like we had David on here who has worked in the NHS, a very good friend. He's a surgeon over there. But the whole conversation is like the UK, right? Like they have the NHS where it's like you can just go and you'll have it taken care of. They're not going to ask any questions, and we go from that route. But like you said, like you can go sit in a ER or you can go do it. Like I remember talking to him, and there's like a person with a broken wrist in there, and it's very clearly it's like, hey, you're going to sit here for 4.5 hours until we can even see you, right? But then you can have the private sector where people can pay a little bit more, and then they can actually go get stuff taken care of. It's very interesting when you look at that healthcare world compared to like America, right? Because the USA, because again, it's just ran differently with the insurances on how things it is. And like also exactly to your point, in America, it's like, oh, hey, you have this insurance, but if you don't have this covered, they go like this happens all the time, just so everyone is aware. Like, for example, people who like give birth, I hear this all the time. Everyone thinks having a baby is free. Let me just sit here and tell you, if you have a baby, there's a lot of times you're getting a bill, depending on if you do it in market or whatever, between eight and like I've heard people as high as $20,000 to have a baby because you don't know if there's any complications, if they have to stay in the NICU, whatever it is. But I'm saying this and people are like, oh, no, it is. Every person who's had a baby, they're like, yep, wish I would have known about that. And the reason I say that, I literally talked to my brother and them. I'm like, you guys know what it costs money to have a baby, right? Like it's not you just go to the hospital, your insurance covers it. Because what happens a lot of times, you usually are doing your research of the person who's delivering the baby, they're covered under your network. But then what will happen is they'll have like, while you're going through pain or you're in labor, they'll have like 6 other people come in and they'll be having you sign stuff while you're in it. And a lot of times what happens is those people aren't in your actual market or you're not covered by your coverage of your insurance. And so then now that's how it's like, oh, hey, you just got an anesthesiologist and they are not, and you owe $8,000 because sorry, not anesthesiologists, but like actually like people who are working on like the numbing or putting you right on different things that they're going to do. But the reason I'm just saying that is most people don't understand that if it's not in your network, you can go have a baby and they told you it was 100% covered. And now it's like, oh, your insurance actually doesn't cover it. And then this is where I've just learned from working with CFOs. Like I have buddies who are CFOs of hospitals, and they literally talk about one of the biggest places that they lose money is from the copay that we have here in America, because it's actually usually more expensive to do the copay than it is to just pay it outright if they do a cash, because a lot of hospitals will be like, oh, if you pay cash, it's this, right? And then so it's very interesting as you get into the different networks, the markets. I always just put it out there because it's just like, I love learning about like, hey, how South Africa do it? How does the UK do it? How does America do it? And I will always sit here and say, I don't think anyone's figured it out the right way. And it's all like, hey, this is the best way. But it's always interesting to hear, because also if we're reps, if we're trying to break into med device sales or you're already in it, it's a good understanding how different countries work, because that's been a big learning for me, is like coming from a company that's based out of the UK. Well, like there's a reason certain things from the products that I sell are a certain price compared to like if you come in America, like competitors are 3-4 times the price, right? And it's like, well, if we were that price, we would never be over here, because the NHS will just never pay for something like that. You know what I mean? So it's always interesting. I know I went on a rant, but I always want everybody to kind of have a good understanding. It is not all equal, and there's different healthcares, and that's going to be a big play when you are a med device rep, because you and I both were just talking about it on air or off air. There is a pay change, whether you're in South Africa, whether you're in the UK, whether you're in America, for being the exact same job, right? Because the healthcare systems are ran very different and the financial opportunities are very different. Now, again, we all know, everybody, just so you know, what I've watched is all over the world, med device reps still are usually in the top and do very, very well. But for example, what I can just say here is like, you can't be in South Africa and then like I tell you like, oh, this is what people will make in America. And they'll be like, how am I not making this in South Africa? Because again, the healthcare systems, the insurances, everything's different on how it rolls.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's very important for a person trying to break in, or a person already in the current industry, to speak to people from the same country and the same healthcare systems as themselves. Because if I have to look at what the American reps are earning, I'm not earning close to that. But in terms of my South African rand and my basis for my currency, I'm earning well above what I should be earning for my age and even for people in my industry. And that's a very important thing. That's why I always try to have mentors that are within the same country as myself, or within the same division, because it doesn't help. Like I do neurosurgical cases. It doesn't help I speak to a gynecological rep or someone that does gastroenterology. They're not going to be able to assist me in the same way. And that's why it's very important to look at the information in retrospect, to look at where you are, look at your healthcare system. And that's why I appreciate what you do, asking everybody about their various healthcare systems so that the different viewers can see that, no, in South Africa, we don't run the same as the NHS. We don't run the same as America. It's totally different healthcare systems, and even for reps to be made aware of the issues. I mean, in South Africa, if you break into example, in the government sector, if you are a trauma rep, because I also do trauma, they call you at weird hours in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Listen, I want to do a case. You need to be here now. Whereas in the private sector, it's not as often. The surgeons will most likely delay until the next morning because they have the necessary equipment to prolong the surgery happening, whereas in the state it needs to happen now because they don't have the resources to treat the pain, or they don't have the resources to wrap the fracture properly. And whereas in the private sector, there is that. So there are definitely discrepancies between the different healthcare systems, and it's good that you point it out and that people can understand. It's not the same everywhere in the world.
No, and I always just want people to really understand that, because again, everyone will hear, like, like if you just do what is the currency you guys use?
Rand.
Rand. So if you use your currency and then you take that to the British pound and then you come into the USD and then you go to the euro, please do those conversions, my friends. Like, it's all over the board, and the cost of living is different in each place. And like, you coming here in America, we are very thankful. Like I tell people all the time, it's crazy to be in America. Like, America is like it's 50 countries in one country, right? Like, all of our states, yes, they're states, but they're all very different, right? Like, because I can sit here and tell you, after running the whole Western United States and being in downtown LA and being in San Diego and San Francisco, it is not the same price as living in small town Iowa, right? Like, it is just very different. Again, we say use the same currency, but things are very different. So I always want to just shed some light so you guys have really good understanding, because I think a lot of people miss that. And they're like, well, I should be here or whatever. And now that I feel like a responsibility to be like, hey, we have people from all over the world watching this. We need to let everybody know that, yeah, you'll hear me talk about USD and you'll hear what we say, like the average rep. It's been documented the average rep's going to make about $177,000 in America, right? But you can't have that same expectation in South Africa, because the cost of living, the insurance, everything is different on how we do things. So I just always want to put that out there. But man, I'll just sit here and tell you, Dolan, I could talk to you forever. Like, first off, your accent's great, but also just who you are and the information you have is truly amazing. But what I would love to hear, just to kind of end this show, is what is your best advice to those reps who are, whether they're first starting out or we have people who've been in watching like 3 years, 4 years, because they're always just trying to get that 1% a little bit better. Is there something they're not doing? And the last thing I'm just going to say on that, welcome to high performers, my friends. Every high performer never is like, I'm a high performer, and then they stop. They always are talking to other people and learning from other people, because they just want to see if there's something maybe they're not doing that might actually add to their skill set. So hopefully that helps you. But Dolan, what is your advice to the people who, whether they just broke in or that they've been in for a couple years, 2, 3, 4 years? I just want to hear what your advice you would give to those people, because you are someone who literally at the young age of 22 was able to break in, come in as a full line rep, take a territory that literally had zero, to where you're at now, a top performer in South Africa, and being at the age to where you can afford a $30 ebook, and now you're getting married and you're getting a place, and like, good stuff's happening.
No, so my biggest piece of advice would just be stay consistent and and guys, if you're breaking into this industry and you're not a hardworking person and you're not consistent, you're not persistent, the hard truth is you're not going to last very long. There's guys that want the same accounts that you want. There's guys that want the same surgery that you want. So you need to stand out above the rest. Either that's by giving great service. I mean, when my surgeons message me that I have accounts, I answer them as soon as I can. I try and make certain things for them. So I'll go take them out for lunch. I'll do things that are nice. But in terms of getting new business, especially for the guys that have just broken in, you need to be consistent. You need to be showing up with those consultation rooms. You need to be talking to the theater staff. The theater staff, in my opinion, are going to be your best source of information. What I've learned is the scrub nurses that are assisting the doctors in theater, those are your best sources of information. Which company does this doctor use? What is doctor like? Which doctor does all the trauma calls for guys doing trauma? Who's the best surgeon? Who's the surgeon that wants to change? So utilize the information you have within the hospital. Speak to the nurses. They are very, very nice. They will be definitely willing to help you, and they'll be showing you in the right direction. And in terms of product, know and understand your product. I mean, I would find myself at night be going YouTubing a laminectomy and decompression surgery, which is one that we do in spine. I'd be looking through the surgery over and over and over and over again until it's cemented in my mind. The thing is, I want you guys to know the surgery and your device as well as, or as much as the surgeon can. You need to know it just as well as he does, because you guys need to be the product expert, and they appreciate knowing the surgeries. And another tip I can also give to keep accounts is ask the surgeon to explain to you, doc, what you're doing right now. Even though you've seen that case 1,000 times, some doctors love teaching. So ask them, Doc, how do you approach it? Why do you approach it this way? The thing is, it's about building relationships and about being consistent in what you do. So that would be my best piece of advice. And also, like Jacob said, look for mentors, look for people that are doing better than you. I consistently speak to people that are better than myself. I'm doing well with where I am right now, but I want more. And that's why I speak to people that are doing better than myself. They say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So spend time with the most successful people in your industry and learn from them. And then once you will be the sixth most successful person. So that's really my advice.
Hey, go back and listen to that advice 3 more times, my friends. Like that last piece is like such gold, Dolan. Like I'm that's how I feel every single day. You know what I love about this is that's what I love about social media. Because sometimes you can't always be around the same people. When I was in small town Iowa, I wanted to be, but like there just wasn't people talking about the way we're talking and the way we're thinking and what's the opportunity. And so the reason I'm just saying that's why I love social media. You can literally go find millionaires. You can literally find billionaires and they have podcasts and you can hear their mindset. And then you can find people like what we're doing, people who've had success in the industry. And we can literally just teach you how to, like, we've already done it. So why are you going to try to go figure it out? Because what most people don't do is like, I can sit here and tell you, and I've said it on other podcasts, the biggest thing that I've learned with working with a lot of millionaires and growing companies and doing stuff with very successful people, the one thing they've understood is they can't get their time back. They can make more money. They can do all the other things. They can buy more houses or cars, whatever it is. They can always go get more. But the one thing you'll never get back is your time. So think about what Dolan's saying is like he's hungry and he's going to keep doing it, but he could just be on his own. And guess what? It might take him 4 more years to figure out where he wants to be. But by getting on those calls with being with people, it's going to save so much time. And so that's the thing I'm just going to sit here and tell you is like, that's what I tell people all the time with medical device sales and what we've been able to do. It's why we're putting this out is like, all I've done is save a lot of time and a lot of effort from people and a lot of money. Because if like Alex Hormozi says it the best, if you're trying to make $1 million and every year you're not making $1 million, you're losing $1 million. You're losing whatever you're not making to that because that's your goal. And now you're not making it. So now you're losing it. That changes the mindset. And most people just don't have that mindset. So that's what I would just have you start thinking about is getting those mentors, doing exactly what Dolan said, because that's what you need to be investing in yourself. Because everybody's like, oh, you've done this all. You want to know why I've been successful? Because I'm always like, I do what I tell you guys to do. Invest in courses, get mentors, have people, talk to people smarter than me. Never think I'm the best, right? Like it's all this stuff. And it's why you can continue to grow and grow and grow and watch what happens. Your financials will continue to grow, grow, grow. Your relationships grow, grow, grow. Like it's crazy what happens once you get into self-development. Believe in yourself and take shots. And the last thing I just want to tell every single person, because they see this and they miss it. Everything good in life is scary at first. Everything you're thinking about, like, I want to do this, or I thought about getting a mentor, or whatever it is. Oh, I want to go and do this job. Everything is scary. Your first cold call, scary. First surgery, scary. First whatever, scary. And then guess what? You're a year in, you're like, what was I scared about? You know what I mean? So that's what I want you guys to take away from what we do here is just trying to be able to help you all. It's the mindset. It's what Dolan's saying. It's mentors. It's being able to put in the work. Don't be lazy. Show up consistent time and time again. I'm going to sit here and tell you, you will crush it in medical device sales. So Dolan, I just want to take a moment, man, and just say, again, thank you for taking time out of your day. I know we have a crazy time difference. So I just want to say thank you so much. And I know your schedule is crazy with working the hours you do. So just want to say thank you so much for coming on here and just speaking to our listeners.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And thanks for having me, Jacob.
Of course. And if you guys are interested, you can press that like and subscribe button. It really would help us grow this channel. A 5-star review does help us grow this channel. If you think this could be helpful for somebody else, just let us know, be able to go share with them. And also just always putting this out there. Super interesting to see how things have kind of continued to turn. People have heard we've taken associate sales reps and we've helped them go from associates to full line reps in under 8 months, right? And everybody will tell you, no, it's 2 years, right? We've watched reps that are full line reps, but they're working for a distributor or a smaller company and they're struggling. And they're like, no, I want to go work for a bigger company or I want to go here. It's been interesting because we've been able to help a lot of people do that. So if you guys are interested in that, please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn at Jacob McLaughlin, new to medical device sales as well. We also have first year in. Feel free to reach out to us on that because again, that is something that we're seeing that's been amazing. We've already helped people do that. And so if you are in that transition, we know we can help you with that as well. But I just want you guys to know, I put all this stuff out here. We have these great guests like Dolan because I just want you to win. Like I always say, I just want you to be as successful, because you winning does not make me lose. It does not make anyone else lose. It is just being a place of abundance. And we want you all to be as successful. Go take over your life. Go live the life that you want to. And we want you to be the best rep that you can be, because that way you can give the best possible care to the people on the table, and you can be that expert for your surgeons that, guess what, usually returns into you crushing quota, which then returns into you usually doing pretty well financially to go bless yourself, bless your family. And then normally you do so well, you actually can go bless other people. And that is the whole goal of what we do here. It's just continuing to help you all crush it, so then you can go give back and be positive inside this world. So just want to say thank you all again. If you can share this with somebody that you feel like it will be helpful, I would really appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.